Hi, everyone. I'm Suzie Hall with the Cornerstone Collective, and we are bringing you another conversation with one of our collective associates, Sharon Grant, who's with us today. Sharon, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you, Suzie. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So if you would, please tell our viewers a little bit more about Sharon Grant, how long you've been working in the sustainability field, and what drives you in your work.
Well, I guess I'll give the background that I had a pretty big interest in renovating homes back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And in that process of renovating homes, I had done a few in Miami and I had moved to Seattle. Once I landed in Seattle, I had discovered this place called the Environmental Home Store. And it started to dawn on me, really had to be careful about the materials that go into your home because they can affect you so much. And then I went and saw a presentation by Christine Irvin, who is one of the original founders of the US Green Building Council. And at that point in time, I had never thought about just that significant impact that we have on the climate and what a risk it is for our whole society, and didn't realize how much the built environment actually impacted that. So that kind of opened my eyes to a new career and a new route that I wanted to take. And so I founded Own Your Home back in 2006. And, that was really built on this principle of, you have to think about the whole of everything and the interconnectedness of things. And Om is the original sound of creation, and that symbolizes the interconnectivity. And so for me, it was, this whole world is one giant ecosystem with a lot of other ecosystems. And I just wanted to find out that I could impact those ecosystems in a much more positive, regenerative way, rather than the way that it seems like we've kind of been destructive towards ecosystems. And I just wanted to have a bigger impact in this world. So I think that's what drove me more than anything else.
Well, that's fascinating, right? I know that we both started our journey on with sustainability and environmental design and our passion back in the mid 2000s. So I know that our journeys have been kind of aligned with each other, and that we met through the U.S. Green Building Council board in Idaho that we were, both longtime members of. You were the chair for a couple of years, and I remember just being so impressed with your knowledge of, but also your passion for, right? And that's a really magical combination, because I think we can have a lot of head knowledge, intellectual knowledge about sustainability, but without that passion and without that extra, I don't know, effort or, just pizzazz in our step for it, I think it really makes a difference. And so I think it's just really exciting what you've done since then with your career, and wanted to see if you could tell us just a little bit more about your work in leadership in energy and environmental design, just kind of high level. If you'd share with us a little bit more about that, please.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, one of the things that sparked my interest was meeting the founders of the organization that created LEAD. And so what that put into place was this interest in finding out more about LEAD. And in 2007, I decided to become a LEAD accredited professional. And I'll give a little insight that at the time I was living in the Cayman Islands. I had a very different life and a very different background. And I spent about a week studying on 7 Mile Beach. And that's how I passed my first LEAD accreditation and became a LEAD AP. So with that, I started volunteering a lot, trying to get experience. I went back for an ecological design degree, achieved that. And that really gave me the foundation to start working on LEAD projects. Admittedly, I was still pretty fresh. I had a new consultancy firm and was looking for my first LEAD projects. And so I was working on an 80 home neighborhood and helped with each of the homes in that neighborhood get LEED certified. And then we went and got the LEED for Neighborhood Development certification. And honestly, over 15 years, it just feels like it has just snowballed. At this point, I've worked on over 100 LEED projects, and it's just amazing to try to think about every project and all the impact and all the inspiration that has come from each of them.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and a lot more to come as well. What would you say are your priorities, other than what you've just shared with us, in your sustainability consulting, the work that you do? What comes to mind as priorities as you're working with clients and on projects?
Well, I guess I have to go with what already said is that, you know, that idea that I can create impact, that seems to drive me more than anything else. And so I love the opportunity that I might be able to influence having a more positive impact, or, you know, bring something new to the table that inspires somebody. And beyond that, you know, I have to say creativity. I don't like getting bored. You know, I like to have the opportunity to create new things. And so it's not necessarily always a creativity and like, I want to paint something or design something. It's truly creating new systems or new opportunities or new ways of streamlining lead and creating a guide that makes the process easier. Like, I like that creation process. And honestly, there's a certain pride that comes from just being a meaningful resource for people. You know, I work really hard to accumulate as much knowledge as I can, and sustainability and resilience and you know, regenerative design and what we can do to have a better positive impact on this world. But I try to be really practical about it and bring solid resources to the table to say, here's a great approach with cost benefit analysis that we've really analyzed, and we've come up with a solution that works on a triple bottom line level. And so I think there's a balance between that creativity, wanting to be very, very practical.
That's a great response. Spoken like a true entrepreneur, right? Wanting to create.
Yep.
I've read a lot of your client testimonials and heard some of them firsthand, which are amazing. But just if you would, not to toot your own horn, but just so people get to know you a little bit better, what are, you know, 2 or 3 things that your clients have told you that they most appreciate about you and working with you in the sustainability consulting world?
I think the passion comes through first. You know, the passion for wanting to have impact and to strive better, to strive for LEED Platinum, or, you know, make it the healthiest possible for anybody who's going to be living or working or occupying a building. Like, you know, there's a certain level of inspiration and passion I think people value. But I always back that up by immediately coming in and saying, let's get practical. You know, let's think about what really works to bring benefit. And we have to think of benefit on a lot of different levels. You know, there's financial benefit we have to think of. What's the economics of it? There's the health side of it. There's the climate impact. There's the materials consumption and how do we be responsible and regenerative about materials, and think of this world in more of the circular economy terms. I feel like that's a new area that I'm doing a lot of studying to really find out, how do we think about all of our actions and our way of developing and creating in a way that's more about a circular economy. And to me, that's something that, you know, thinking that way kind of brings a new lens to clients that I work with, and a new way of thinking about things, not simply point chasing. It's not simply saying we're just getting to platinum no matter what. It's really thinking about, does this particular measure bring benefit? Does it either bring health? Does it bring value economically? Does it support the climate? Is it something we can market on this project? You know, let's really think through on a practical level. And I think the other side of that is being able to think very big picture. What are the greenhouse gas emissions coming from this? What is the embodied energy on this material? But very, very detailed as well. Did we actually cross our T's and dot our I's to submit this LEED paperwork exactly how they're requiring it submitted? Like, there's a certain magic to be able to keep the big picture perspective and keep the detail. And so that's something I really strive to do for every client, that we don't lose picture of the big picture or lose track of the big picture that we're trying to impact and influence and achieve. We've got to get the detail right in order to get there. So I think that's something I've heard from clients, as well as just that walking in saying it's cost benefit analysis. You know, it's not just point chasing.
Well, and I can just share on a personal level, having worked with you on many projects, sustainability projects, LEED projects, and as a business partner for over a decade now in a separate entity, that I have always appreciated and admired your ability to think and communicate at that big picture level, you know, with executives and C-suites, and make the case for LEED, sustainability, the green program, whatever it may be, and then be able to work all the way down to that micro level and fill out those, the paperwork or online with those check boxes and, sign your name to it. And I think that's an area within LEED, especially also other programs like WELL and things that are, third-party certified. Some people, have said, oh, I want it, it's designed to LEED standards, or I want to do that, but I don't want to pay the fees. And it's important to drill down to that micro level and check those boxes and have a professional sign their name to it. Because if you don't do that, I always say it's like taking a test and not having it graded. You can think you got an A, but if you don't actually have it graded by a professor, who's to say, right? And then it also ensures the quality of all of that effort on the design side and construction and implementation. So I know I know you and I can shout it from the mountaintops and all of that, but I think it's important to, for clients and owners and developers and operators to understand the value of having a seasoned, experienced professional such as yourself at the table who can conduct, right, all of those pieces and parts and isn't just laser focused on one path. So that would be what I would say.
I'll throw in one quality control thing that came out of project. We had a multifamily, multi-building project that if they hadn't been pursuing LEED, they had specified a very high efficiency window, a very low U value. And when it came to the actual installation, the window guy thought he could get away with putting a less efficient window in and nobody would notice. Now, none of the code officials were looking for that sort of thing. He still met code, but we fell way short of where we had energy modeled the whole project. And so through all those, that level of detail and inspecting and actually being quality control, we were able to call out that they didn't get the windows they paid for. Mm-hmm. And so they had to replace all the windows. Now, I'm not sure the contractor was really happy with us, but from a developer and owner standpoint, and for the people that were going to be paying those operating costs for the long term, that made a big difference.
That's a great example, and unfortunate that it happened, but yeah, that happens way more often than people realize. And if someone's not reviewing and checking all of that along the way, you're exactly right. I've had those types of experiences myself in both design and sustainability. Mm-hmm. So shifting gears a little bit, what appeals to you about the collaboration with the Cornerstone Collective?
Well, the team of experts. I mean, the idea of working with a team. And 2020 has really brought it home that there's so much individualism happening in this world right now. You end up isolated doing videos and not having the connectiveness that my original concept of Own Your Home was based on. But the idea that you've got a whole team of people that can share expertise. I mean, there's no way that any one person can be the expert in everything. And to have a team of people that all have their areas of specialty and be able to collaborate and learn from each other and provide a much better overall solution to have much greater impact. I mean, to me, that's the beauty of it. Mm.
Yeah, collaboration and integration. Those are two very key words that I know we're both aligned on. And that integrated design process, we've been in many meetings together and on many project teams together where we have experienced that value of the integrated design process and having as many stakeholders around the table. And to me, that's one of the things that's exciting about this Cornerstone Collective business model. It's somewhat disruptive, especially in a traditional, design, bid, build world. And we're out to change that mentality that it has to go that way to get the best value and the best result. And you and I both know that having those stakeholders around the table early on and having the continued conversations brings so much more value, so much more synergy and speed to market, getting the project done more quickly. The design process is tighter, the construction process is tighter. All of that ROI that we're building for our clients, I know that it just brings joy to you and I, because it's like, all right, we did this. We overcame the challenge and we more than succeeded, and then on to the next one. So I know we see it as a building platform too.
Yeah. Well, I have a great story about that. I'll quickly tell the risk of there was, I don't know if you remember the school that the group of us in particular worked on, they had not brought the operations team to the table during the design process. They didn't think through that in a really windy area that would have a lot of dust, that the rooftop units were going to be maintained by one person. There were over 100 rooftop units.
Wow.
There's no way one person could properly maintain all that and run that operation. So if the operations person had been at the table early on, then this discussion would have happened and they would have through what was the right heating and cooling system for this particular project. So learning from that, I've got a great project now with the Nature Conservancy and a new center. We have done an energy model that has guided all the decisions. We made a light model, an acoustics model. So talk about integrating the design we want to come across in this World Heritage site and what we want to capture in design, but we can do it with an acoustic wall panel. And then we can think of like the ceiling, design and what's going to come down from that might acoustically improve the space. We're thinking about how do we have windows that bird mitigating, because it's a wildlife preserve, but they're also super energy efficient and they're going to work with the glare and the day we're trying to do. Like, talk about an integrated design process where we are trying to get the best solution to create this amazing building that I will proudly say right now, we are in single digit EUIs. For anybody that's not familiar with an EUI, it's an energy use index, your energy use per square foot per year. And to be in the single digits is almost net zero. So this project is going to take it to net zero, which is really exciting.
Wow, congratulations. That is a great, great project to hear about.
Yeah, thank you.
On that note, tell us a little bit more about a project that comes to mind. I don't want to say favorite, but you've shared some great examples with us. Maybe another win, or you look back on it and it just kind of rises to the top as something special for you in your work.
Well, there's always times that I present to the residents of multifamily affordable housing projects. And as I'm talking to them about what makes this a green home and energy efficient and water efficient, they're not quite as engaged with that. Then I start talking about the health, how much we've done to improve the indoor air quality. On multiple occasions, I have had a resident look at me and say, do you know that I had asthma my entire life and I have not had an asthma attack since I started living in this building? To know that you're making that kind of a health influence on people, I talked to the developers and said, that's a story to tell. Every time you get this certification, tell them it's LEED certified, tell them it's healthy, and they're going to want to live there, not just for the energy efficiency, which, I think people appreciate saving money. But when you tell them they don't have to go to the hospital on a regular basis or be on steroids to mitigate against asthma, I mean, that's significant in individual lives. So I love hearing those kind of personal stories. Those definitely drive me and inspire me. Most meaningful, though, has probably been having some recent projects here in the Wood River Valley, which is Sun Valley, Idaho, and having contracts to actually work on making some true impact here, working on sustainability initiatives for the city of Ketchum, really cultivating some change that's in my hometown, and then achieving a grant from an organization that was the largest they'd ever awarded to a 3-organization group, that we're able to work on big initiatives to really think about the 3 R's, which is how do you reduce, reuse, and recycle. And without the time to go into all those initiatives, maybe we can have some other interview to talk about them, but just the idea that not only have I worked with cities across the nation or organizations or LEED projects, in all different places, to actually work on some in my home base, to have a LEED certified hotel that I was the lead consultant on, probably about 7-8 blocks from my house. Just to have that local influence, to me, has been just one of the favorite things that I've been able to work on.
Wow, that is great. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so last question for today, and yes, we'll have another conversation. These will be continued. What are you most looking forward to in 2021?
In 2021, I can't say that 2020 has been awful for me, but I'm going to go back to that connectivity issue. 2020 has really been a year of disconnection. So many ways that people have been more isolated, people have been more virtual. It's just been a weird world for so many people. And I want to return to where we feel a strong connectivity and an interconnectivity that we know that our actions influence, the ecosystem around us and others around us and the materials that we're pulling out and the climate and just this idea of interconnectivity. But it's hard to grasp that connectivity when you're not able to go up and hug somebody in the same way or have these in-person integrated design meetings. And I have to say, I'm really looking forward to the point where we feel like we can be truly in-person, interconnected again, and feel like that's the way forwards for a while. And I know that's lofty. I know it's coming at some point, but I just really look forward to having that connectivity again. And when you come to charrette where you have every design member in a room, get the discussions going, compare the models, compare the solutions, weigh them, cost benefit analysis, just everything. It doesn't quite resonate the same when you have the pictures of each person on a Zoom and you're trying to get that discussion going. It's effective, we can do it. But the value that comes from an in-person connection on that just seems to be something that I really want to get back. And so that would be my hope for 2021 is we reach a point where we can safely do that and feel like we're all connecting again in a much more meaningful way.
Well, it's so interesting that that's what you chose, because every year I choose a word for the year. And I don't make New Year's resolutions, but I choose a word and I do, a few other things, setting intentions. My word this year is connect.
Really?
And so, yeah, and I chose that New Year's Day, and it's definitely something I think a lot of people are feeling, right? Disconnected for 2020, I agree, has been such a tumultuous year in that way. I know I haven't really even seen you in person for months, which is unusual. So yeah, it's my hope as well that 2021 we can connect more, in person as much as possible. And I think it'll be different. I think we'll appreciate it a lot more and not take things for granted. In being able to gather together, go out to dinner together, even go to a school campus, for kids. So I'm also looking forward to connectivity in 2021.
Well, we're on a similar trajectory as always.
Yes.
Nice to hear, Suzie.
Well, thank you again, Sharon, for joining us today. And it's been such a delightful conversation. For those of you that would like to learn more, you can go to our website at thecornerstonecollective.net and navigate to the Collective Associates page and find Sharon Grant on that page. Sharon, again, is the principal of EcoEdge, and she's one of our collective associates. A very, very passionate and expert leader in sustainability, energy efficiency, and she's always my go-to for anything along those lines. So again, Sharon, thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much, Suzie. I do too.
All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.